Hey, hey,
Hi,
how are you feeling?
feeling fantastic. I'm like so excited.
Ha, me too. All right, well, welcome everyone. I'm Amanda. This is Emily, and we're gonna have a juicy conversation. Emily, since this is our first podcast, would you like to tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what this podcast is about? Since it was your brilliant idea.
My brilliant idea. Yeah. So I'm Emily. I'm married. I'm a mom of three. I'm a newly stay-at-home mom. So that's exciting. And then I had this brilliant idea for this podcast. I have been working with Amanda for I think it'll be 3 years in January. And we both love reality TV. So I was like, you know how much fun it would be. And I love listening to reality TV podcasts, but most of them do not go deeper into like different situations. Like if I'm triggered by something, I will send her a memo and be like, listen to this. I just watched this. Have you seen this episode? Tell me what you think about it. And then we'll talk about it. So I'm like, you know what? This would be a great podcast for us to sit down and talk about things and talk to each other. And I'm just really excited. We're going to go deeper.
Yeah, me too. And it's so funny because I love that you send me those messages. It's like our little for me, it's kind of I don't have a lot of gossip in my life or anything in real life. Um, real like low drama. So which I like it that way, but it's like an outlet for I don't know, it's like our little gossip sesh, but we bring it into like spirituality and real life. And so I guess I should say, I am so my background is like life coaching and health coaching. And I have my master's in conflict analysis and engagement, and I did an adult development concentration. Also, if you're into astrology, which I am, um, I'm I have tons of Taurus in my chart. I have a lot of Taurus placements. However, I have an Aquarian moon, which makes me like otherworldly and deeper thinking. And in shamanic astrology, um, your moon is like you have a PhD in that. So it's just sort of like how I go through life as I do think more deeply, even when I'm watching reality TV. um, yeah, and I'm sure we'll get into all of that in different episodes, but I really like to like take on different perspectives, and I'm a manifesting generator, and I like have all these different interests, but I like to put things together. That's in human design for anyone who doesn't know. And I think the conversations will be really cool because you're a mental projector, and so you see things in a certain way that's different from me also, uh, which I love, like a lot of the insights that you give. So
Yeah, I was thinking that. I'm like, yeah, this will be so year three. So we've been doing this for a while. And I feel like I've gotten to a better place where I can actually watch these shows and be like, wait a second, this is something right here. Like we need to get into this. Like we need to unpack whatever you're bringing to the table because I've been there, I've done that, but I've done the work. I've shown up. I'm still working, but I've done the work. I've shown up and I'm ready to like continue on. So
yeah,
yeah, I think it'd be really good.
yes, and just to show that, oh my God, doing personal work, being spiritual, being embodied. That's another part of like I've done a lot of consciousness training and embodiment training. So I bring that into the work I do and into the way I live. But all of that is like, doesn't have to be so fucking serious all the time, right? Like it can be, we can still like reality TV. We can still like to dress cute. We can still like want to just enjoy our life and not be so serious all the time. And yeah, we can still drop F bombs because I do that all the time even though my mother hates it. So sorry, mom. Um, it's
What
my
do you all the time though. It's play and practice. This is all play and practice. And I think that is something I remind myself of like all the time. If I'm in a situation, I'm like, nope, this is play and practice. Like this is not life or death. Like this is play and practice. We're gonna get through this. Like we're gonna try it this way. If this way doesn't work, then we'll try it this way or another way. I shouldn't say this way. Another way the next time. Like we've got this. Like it's fine.
Yeah, and that is such an important piece of life, right? Like when I finally like owned and said, yeah, like I'm a medicine woman. I had all this play and practice in my life leading up to that moment. And I was already using all of my tenets of my medicine, like when I was working with clients as a life coach or a health coach or whatever they wanted to call me. And it's fine. I still, if they call me that, I don't care. But I, it's such rich, deep, important medicine in our lives to be able to just, it's like a little healing balm to remember everything is practice and play. It's very little in life is life or death. It's okay to make mistakes. We both have the line 3 in human design. So it's all about like practicing and experimenting, and you don't have to get it perfect. So, yeah, we're going to just bring all that juiciness and fun into these conversations. And I think you're going to enjoy it. Don't you think they'll enjoy it?
I think that they're going to love it because I think that we are good balance, like a mixture. Like you're very rooted in what you're rooted in. Like I'm obviously a Christian, but we're able to work together. It's not like, oh no, we can't talk together or whatever. Like we both have different perspectives and personalities. And I think combining those together is what makes us like such a good, what do you want to say? Like, yeah, fit, like mold. I don't know. Cause I feel like we're like at this point, I don't know, like just really connected.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, like I think for me, I was raised Christian, and even though I don't just practice Christianity anymore, um, it's not that I discarded that, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that into a more expanded view of other things too.
Yes.
So it's like all about integration for me. And like, go Jesus. Like, I mean,
Right.
Christ consciousness is a huge part of the work I do.
Yeah. I
And
think that is 100%. Cause I think that like, you know, what you've really taught me is like going internal and going into my own body and finding answers within myself versus going external. And I think there's so much power in prayer, but I think there's also power in who you are as a person and owning that. And I think that that is a huge component of this reality TV gossip sesh we're gonna have. It's like, wait a like maybe they need to go inside and like just take a minute.
yeah, it's that still small voice, right? That the Bible talks about. Like, I love helping people, guide people towards that still small voice in themselves. And it's also being really embodied, which just means being in your body. So, like, when you get pulled out of your body, starting to notice how to come back to yourself and, like, oh, yeah, like I am mind, body, spirit, soul, but
Yeah.
it's like the containment of that. It's that. So like how does everything feel in my body? Am I in my body, or have I left and gone somewhere else because I'm triggered or upset or even just super excited and happy, right? You can also, anywho, I don't know why I just said that. I never say anywho.
Because we're full of excitement talking about this because it's just going to be such a good time. Like, I think it's going to be so fun. And like, I totally get reality TV. I've never been through it. I've never done it myself. So I can't say one way or the other, but I've watched enough of it. I've listened to, I feel like a million podcasts where I know kind of behind the scenes that there are producers who like put that pressure cooker on these people. I'm sure in real life, maybe they don't act this way. Maybe they do. I don't know. So, you know, it's not a place of judgment, but we are just like having open conversations. Like they would be like our best friends or something. Because I feel like you really get to know people, I guess. Like, I mean, I know it's all edited and whatever, but I feel like you get to see who they are as a person. Like,
Yeah, and it is very like non-judgment because I don't know, like do you because we haven't talked about if you watch, I don't think we've ever talked about if you watch The Real Housewives of Orange County.
no, should I?
Oh my God, girlfriend. Yes. I mean, if you can handle it, like sometimes I get like so maybe I need to turn this off. But the reason I brought it up is because they like scream at each other more than like any other of the Housewives franchises, I think. Or at least all the ones I watch. Like I watch a lot of them. I watch Beverly Hills, Orange County, New York, and Salt Lake City. I think those are the only four. And like that's not enough. But sometimes like when they're screaming at each other, I like can't hardly take it anymore. And I'll just sometimes turn it off or take a break. But what I am noticing is they're all just so like triggered and they're I mean, I might do that too in that situation. I don't know. Like if people were just screaming at me or screaming all around me, like it's almost like I can do the pause button at home because I'm watching it. But if I was there in real life, I mean, I might totally lose my shit. Like probably I would. I don't know. So it isn't a
Yeah.
judgment thing, but it's just like, wow, you can really watch and reflect on it. And then it's kind of like lessons you can take into your own life too.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever screamed at another human before.
Oh, really?
My sister when I was a teenager, but I don't know. Like as an adult, I don't know that I've ever screamed at like another adult. Raised my voice at my children. Maybe when he and I were first married, maybe. I don't think I've ever screamed at him though. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's interesting to me, like ever. So do you think it's because did you get messages like that you shouldn't do that and you were holding it in or you just never even wanted to?
I don't think I've ever wanted to.
Dang. Okay, that's got a
Or
lot.
I feel like I've gotten quieter. Like the last time my sister and I even like kind of got into it, I was just like, wait a second. And like I whispered at her, like I didn't get loud. Like I was just like,
Okay, yeah.
because I was really trying to go at it in like a productive way. I just feel like screaming is not productive.
No, it's not at all. But I do know like
But there's no like what do you accomplish? I guess. I don't know.
yeah. I there have been times in my life that so I have PTSD
Yeah.
and um there have been points of times in my life where that was really, really, really triggered. And I have definitely yelled. Like I remember when I was not very first married, but married like I don't know how many years, like let's say 4 years or 5 years or something. It was like just after I graduated college because I got married really young. Um, I remember there were a couple of times that things happened between my ex-husband and myself that like really at the time I didn't even know I had PTSD. So I wasn't working on that. And I would like just kind of like leave my body. I mean, I would have like I call them like little blackout sessions where
Yeah.
get triggered and my brain would just go offline and I would just yell. And then I would like go in a room by myself and just bawl my eyes out because I couldn't believe I behaved that way or whatnot. And I had all the self-judgment around it. Even though sometimes maybe I mean, not that we should like go around yelling at people, but sometimes it's an appropriate response to be that mad.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
And it gets other people's attention. So maybe, I mean, maybe it's not productive all the time, but it's probably very effective.
Well, or it's not effective, but it's like a release. And you, anyway, like after I went through EMDR, part of my EMDR therapy journey was like to just go outside and scream and yell and like beat pillows and get that kind of out. And I've never really like yelled at my son or any of that stuff. It was just very specific situations.
Yeah.
Anyway, there, we just went off on like some tangent.
Talking about it. Okay. Let's do a reality show. Like, what's your favorites? What do you love?
Well, I love the Housewives.
Okay. I've never watched them. I guess I'm gonna have to start.
Oh, girlfriend. Yeah, they're good. Love is Blind.
That's a favorite. Yep.
Talk about
Yep.
that one. Like The Bachelor, Bachelorette.
Yep. All of those. Hmm.
Yeah. What else? What are some of yours? I'm trying to think.
I like Love is Blind. I'm Bachelor Nation fan right here. Let's see, what else do I like? Sometimes I'll watch Too Hot to Handle. The last watch it, I was like, I don't know. There's just so many things came up for me. It's just like, wow, how many people like just walk around and just want to have sex with everybody they see? Like that is crazy to me.
Oh yeah. Oh, I think a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would be though. They're so young. They're like early 20s.
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. They're so young. What else do I watch? Oh, Selling Sunset. Do you do Selling Sunset or
Oh yeah. Selling the OC, Selling Sunset. Yeah, for sure.
probably have more than that. I also like it's like Fixer Upper. Would that be reality? I mean, it's kind of real.
Yeah, but you know what I watched? I can't think of the name of it right now, but Nick Lachey also does this one, and the people come. They're from other shows, and they come and they live in that.
Yeah. The Perfect Match.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that. Do you watch that?
Yes, I do watch that one.
Okay, so has anything recently come up on any of them? The only thing I can keep thinking of, because we were going to talk about something else completely, but now we're like down this path, which is fine.
Perfect.
Because we'll get to the other thing eventually. It doesn't matter. The thing that I keep being reminded of, like every time we talk, is the Love is Blind thing with about the condoms.
Yes.
Tell the people what we're talking about if they don't know.
Oh my gosh, what was his name? I don't remember his name. It's Marissa and Ram. That was his name. Anyways, he said that he had to wear no, he couldn't wear condoms to have sex because that's just not comfortable for him. So she needed to be on birth control, basically.
Yeah, and she didn't want to be on birth control.
For many reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like where's the compromise in that? I guess to me, nobody requires a man to alter his hormones or any of that to have sex.
Correct.
So I don't think that they understand it. I don't think that they could get past it. And I also know that men and women clearly are different when it comes to sex. Like men, that is like a focus, very focused on that agenda, where maybe they could ignore what it was doing to their body, like if they had to have birth control, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, but I really think if men want women fully in their pleasure, then they probably don't want a woman on hormonal birth control.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah, like if you really want to be in your full pleasure. And I just want to like say this isn't shaming anyone that wants to be on hormonal birth control. Like that's your choice.
Yes.
And also be really educated about what the trade-offs are.
Yeah.
And what like it does in your system, because doctors don't talk about it. It's like you're some, and it's the truth, but it's like you're some big conspiracy theorist if you are not supportive of it. And it's just a big fat lie women have been fed, which is like the lie of everything else, that you can just do everything, right? Like you can do literally everything and there are no consequences for that. And women are fortunate and blessed and unique and different. We're so different than men. And we have an infradian rhythm that our body works off of. Men will just work off the circadian rhythm. Their hormones move along the circadian rhythm. Women have a circadian rhythm and an infradian rhythm, which is their like around a 28-day cycle. And there's so much wisdom in following what that rhythm is. But when you're on hormonal birth control, you don't have access to that anymore.
Yes. And how many times do you just go to the doctor and like that's their suggestion? Oh, you have acne? Okay, here, take this pill.
Yeah.
Oh, you have bad periods? Okay, here you go, take this pill. There's never that discussion of, well, you can take this pill, but this is what it's ultimately going to do in your body.
Yeah. I was put on birth control at 15 and told I had ovarian cyst just from like one exam. That's what they told me. They didn't do any tests, they didn't do anything. Well, I was 15. What did I know? I'm like, okay. My mom's like, yeah, okay. And because she didn't know either.
Yeah.
She was a nurse and everything, but like she just believed the system.
Yes. Which you should be able to do. You would think. You would think that they would have your best interest at heart.
But I ended up, it caused a lot of more problems for me. And my doctors just kept saying, like, there were no other options. And basically, like, I hate this word, but gaslighting me.
Yeah.
And then it got so bad that this is not an exaggeration. I had a yeast infection 24/7, 365. Like, never could get rid of it. My doctors would give me stuff and it would go away for like 2 or 3 days and come right back. And not one person ever said that it could be your birth control. And then when I was like, oh, I'm so bad with time, but I had moved to Dayton and I moved there when I was 24. So let's say I was like 25, 26. I had gone through like gone to different OBGYNs there. And finally one was like, okay, we're going to figure this out. We're getting to the bottom of it. And she like she was more natural in her approaches. And we did like an elimination diet. We did all these things. And then finally she was like, it could be your birth control. Like, let's just, are you willing to come off of it and see? And I swear to you, like within days, the yeast infection was gone.
Amazing.
And by the way, I started having more problems, and it turns out, and she ended up like doing this surgery and all these things, but laparoscopic. I actually never had ovarian cyst. I had endometriosis this whole time, and it had gotten way worse.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't gonna be able to have a baby or anything because it was so bad by that point.
Oh my.
Treated because my doctor just said go on birth control.
That is insane.
Yeah, I know that was a long story, but I just am like, I want people to understand like where all this is coming from.
Yeah.
It's not, it's like difficult to get pregnant. And there's only a couple days, like more than two, but a few days a month where you can even get pregnant.
Yes.
It's not like you really don't need hormonal birth control to not get pregnant.
And I think that was my big issue with that whole situation was there was like no compromise. He was just like basically saying, well, it's not comfortable for me, so sorry. Like, where's that? Like, if you're going to get married to somebody, you have to compromise. Like, there's no option otherwise. Like, compromise is such a huge key in any relationship that you're in, whether it's a friend, a sister, a kid. Like, it doesn't matter. Every relationship requires compromise at some point.
Yeah.
I just, the whole situation was just way triggering for me. I'm just like, wow, girl, you've got to get away from him. Like, red flags, red flags.
And she was like so upset. You could like see her struggling with her. I felt that way, right? I don't want to like say put that on her, but they were really like when she was laying on the couch and they were having that conversation. And it just felt like she was like almost distressed, like just wanting him to at least try to see her perspective.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just kind of pisses me off like that a lot of men, well, first of all, in our culture, men are just conditioned to like it's the woman's problem. And like, actually, I'll tell a personal story if you want to hear one. It's kind of juicy.
Yeah.
Okay, it's recent. That's why it's kind of juicy.
Okay, tell me.
I was seeing a guy, and we've been seeing each other for a while. And oh, did she go away? Okay, Emily's back. Her phone died.
Change of location here. Okay, tell me your juicy story. I was like, that was like the best cliffhanger we could ever have.
Oh, I know. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't tell the juicy story. Maybe the universe is like, don't say it.
Don't tell me. Okay, go for it. Let me hear it. Your juicy story.
So I was seeing this guy, and like we had a lot of chemistry, and I could just tell it's like going that direction. And I am committed to being in my feminine, right? Like we've talked, I've really committed to it. And we can go into that in another podcast, but um my natural tendency, because ever since like having my trauma around 4 or 5 years old, like has been I take care of myself. Like I really have developed a super strong masculine
Yeah.
inside of myself. So I've had to learn to like be feminine and let people take care of me and receive and all of that. And I've just like committed that when I'm dating, I'm just going to be my feminine. So anyway, we go on a date, and he comes up. We had taken like, I don't know, he got a black car or something. So he like brought me home and like got out also. So I was like, oh, okay. And so he came up, and we kind of had known each other for a while. So it wasn't, weird. Anyway, um, things are going along, and I'm like, he never brought up anything about birth control.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, well, okay, like my thing is I want you to take care of me, but I also know like I'm not on birth control and I'm not stupid. So I will step in and take care of myself, but then I'm not in my feminine in that way anymore, right? So
Yeah.
it kind of like changes the mood. Um, so I said, oh, because he has like several kids. And I was like, have you had a vasectomy? And he's like, no. And I'm like, oh, we're like laying in my bed at this point. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, so what did you have planned? Like to do for birth control? I don't know. Are you on birth control? No, I'm not on birth control. And like, it was just the most, needless to say, like we didn't have sex, but that day anyway, but partly because like we could have, like there were things that just because of my body, like I know, and it was fine. But I was just kind of like turned off that he put all of that on me.
Yes.
And I want him to think about me and protect me and like make sure I'm good, make sure I'm okay, make sure I'm handled, I'm taken care of. I don't need to like have a box of condoms in my drawer.
Right.
Like, I don't like that. Now, some women, look, when I was younger and I went out, like, not long after my divorce, I mean, I would carry a condom with me because it was just like, I was not looking, I was in a different place in my life, right? And I just wasn't a partner, a husband. I was just out having fun, and I was happy to be totally responsible for myself in that way. But now that I'm like wanting a husband, I want him to take care of me.
Yes, totally.
And the whole reason this story came up is I was just saying, like, it pisses me off that men in our society are not like conditioned to know that that is their responsibility. It's like, oh, just put it on the woman. Like, okay, like I don't have enough on my plate. Add that I'm solely responsible for not getting pregnant too.
Yes. I mean, they do say chivalry is dead, and I mean, it depends on who you're with, but I don't think that that's taught anymore. I don't think it's taught to like take care of a woman or respect a woman and treat her a certain way. But there's lots of women who don't want that. They're like, well, I'm my own person. I don't need that. To me, I need it. I want it. Like, if somebody's going to open my car door for me, please, by all means, open my car door. Like, you're going to bring me a cup of coffee in the morning, please, by all means, bring me a cup of coffee. Like, I want to be taken care of in those ways. Like, we've talked about this before. I need to feel that way. And that helps me connect better,
Yeah.
though.
Oh
To know
yeah.
taken care of and like thought of as somebody that's special to them. Like that to me
Yes.
is so important.
Yes. And you know, I have a teen son, and I will say I teach him all of that. And his dad was very good. I mean, like we're divorced, so there was plenty that didn't work for us. But I will say, in those ways, his dad always took care of me. Like
Yeah.
he was very thoughtful in, and to this day, like if I saw him, like, and we were going to Jack's game, or he would be opening the door. He would be like, that's who he is. I mean, he was raised in the South, but like, which I think it's more prevalent there than the North. I've lived both places.
Mhm.
So that's my own lived experience, right? Um, but I do think that getting into what you're saying, and this could actually be, you know, we had that cliffhanger, so that could be a first episode, and maybe this will be a second episode.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We'll see. But so I think that sometimes, first of all, women, because of the feminist movement, like that was very well intentioned, but I do think it put a lot of responsibility on women to do everything. So no women. I just think it was like a really bad deal. Women got a bad deal in the feminist movement, the way it's structured.
Yeah.
And because it was like, oh yeah, you can like be on birth control and have sex with whoever and not worry about getting pregnant, and you can go to work and you can work, you know, 8, 10, 12 hours a day. It's fine. And you can still have kids, and you can get married if you feel like it, and not if you don't feel like it because you're on your own. And but then like what, no one looked at like the cost of that, or like the downside or the consequences. Even if it's not a downside, just it does cost something. It
Yeah.
costs something of you to not be in touch with your own infradian rhythm. It costs something of you to not be a stay-at-home mom. It's not necessarily a problem, but then who is raising your kids and what are they being taught? And you know, there's so many. And then like, dear God, just like, who are you working all the time, just like your partner's working all the time, but then you come home and you also do all the stuff at home?
Yeah. I'm
Because
sure at the time it was like liberating for women. Like I'm sure they felt so liberated. They had finally like gotten to this point, achieved all these things, whatever. But I mean, like you're saying, at the time, nobody knew what the long-term effects would be.
yeah, and the reason it like relates to this is because you were saying like a lot of women don't want men to open their door, don't want men, you know. Well, my personal belief, and you can let me know how this resonates for you.
Yeah.
My personal belief is that women don't trust men anymore because women have taken on so much that they haven't held the feminine polarity to expand men into their masculine polarity. So they're
Yeah.
do nothing now. I mean, that's how women feel. I'm not saying this is true of every man. I know plenty of men that do a lot. You know, I'm just saying as an example. So when women are like, fuck the patriarchy, are they looking at how they created that problem? So then they're like, I don't need a man to open my door. I don't need this, because they're angry at the system, but didn't they create the system?
I think that's so interesting. And to say that, maybe women just don't trust men to hold that because we're not holding our own. I think that's really interesting. And I think that's something that's maybe not taught either at a young age, is to have those expectations. And if the boy or man or whoever you're dating doesn't meet those expectations, it's not a you problem. I think that that's something that, we don't focus on enough. It's like women just internalize that as like, oh, that's me. Like I did something wrong. Like it's not a me problem. Like you're saying, eventually there will be a man who will want to hold the space that you want to give them. Like that's just the reality of it. Eventually you will find that person. You don't need to settle for something less than that.
Yeah, because first of all, I study BDSM. I study all kinds of things. More and more will come out in this podcast of all the things I study, but BDSM is one of the things I study. And in that, we work a lot with like masculine and feminine energies and holding the polarities. And we all have masculine and feminine in our body, but I love working with men holding the masculine, women holding the feminine. But like, the truth is, like, if one person doesn't hold that polarity, then everything collapses. And you can't get to the pleasure point, right? Like in BDSM, that's often orgasm, but you can't get to, and there are pain points along the way, right? Like that's just the way it works. But then you can fully open into its beautiful pleasure. But you have to be in your own polarity. And a woman's polarity, it's funny that you said women internalize it. And we are taught to do that. But like, if you think of a woman as a sub, which isn't, I mean, that gets a lot of bad rap. Like, oh, well, then they have to like submit to the Dom, and that's bad. But actually, good Doms want to please their sub. That's all they want to do. So that's another conversation. But sub is meant to just be internal and only focused on herself and what pleases her. Just, am I in my pleasure? Am I not? Am I in my pleasure? Am I not? Like, does that feel good? Does this not? So yeah, of course, women are internalizing all of this stuff. And so we have to learn to use our internalization of like, not that something's wrong with me, but like, where's my pleasure? Where's my desire?
Yeah.
And focus on that. And then, yes, as you hold that, it becomes like a vacuum. You will receive.
Yeah.
They're about.
So long story short, Marissa, she needs to focus on her internal pleasure. And is it pleasurable to be on birth control for her?
Yes.
It's pleasurable to, not feel, and I'm putting words into her mouth and I shouldn't do that, but to not feel good enough because you have your own values and ideas. I don't think that that's pleasurable. I'm sure she would probably agree. I mean, I'd be curious to know what she would think now, but
yeah. And is it ooh, what kind of a man? Like, what would I love to hear from my man in this situation?
oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Ooh, like, can I work with him by expressing my desire? Like, I get real clear on my desire and then I can express it and see, can he hold that? Can I make a request of him and as find a way to like either he gives me what I asked for or he, we figure out a dance of, because sometimes the answer isn't just yes.
Yeah, I agree.
But because the man is like the masculine containment and the boundaries and all of that stuff. But does he hear my desire? Right. But we have to be vulnerable enough. Like she would have to be, and she was so vulnerable to say,
Really vulnerable.
I really like that doesn't work for my body.
And this wasn't the first time that this has been brought up in Love is Blind. Do you remember Johnny and what was her name? I think it was last season. They were the only ones that got married.
Yes, and they did not have. She like
She didn't want to do birth control
right.
or trying to navigate what the best route would be. And they actually worked like really well together. I thought it wasn't.
Yeah, they didn't have sex until they got it figured out.
Yeah.
But
What
also,
was Johnny? And it's gonna bother me.
I feel like she was maybe Hispanic or something.
Yes. Brown hair. So cute.
I just can't remember
Yeah.
but I'm trying to think of her name, and I feel like, yeah, yes,
But they navigate that. He was able to listen to her and honor her, and like they were able to work it out. Where I feel like this situation, it just he wasn't having it. I felt like he really thought a lot of himself and how wonderful he is and who he is as a person, that I don't know that he was
yeah.
necessarily open to exploring her thoughts on anything really.
No, I agree. It wasn't just about the sex and the condoms and the birth control, because, but this is like just life is the way we are in one thing is the way we are in almost pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Like the fact that she had been in the military, like you could tell, like he really looked down on that and was like so judgmental about it. But like that was a huge part of who she was.
Yes.
Kept
Hmm.
like, well, it's fine, or whatever. But like, if she decided to do something like that again, it would be a big problem. And like, he, I don't know if I should say that. I've got a little, maybe I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to say that because I don't want to like offend people. But
Yeah.
I'm going to say what I was thinking. But I think that in relationship, it's like you were saying, you said there was a compromise. And I look at it like there's this dance that's constantly going on. And we can't expect everyone to agree with everything that we believe or to have the
Yeah.
same views that we have. It's just that actually that would be boring.
That'd be totally boring.
Yeah. That we the problem becomes, I think, when we get in judgment of, rather than seeking to understand, like he didn't seek to really, I didn't feel like, do you feel like he really sought to understand her?
No, I think that he had his own mind made up on a lot of things. And I don't think he was willing to open his mind up and get curious and explore who she was as a person. I think that he was very set. And I feel like she was curious. Like she tried to be respectful and understand where he was coming from, but I don't feel like he gave her that respect back.
Right, right. And I view curiosity as like a feminine, the beauty of a feminine characteristic that men can also have, like, right, because they do have some element of feminine in them. um and I
And I
think,
like the way he presented himself, though, that he would have an amount of curiosity about him. Because I feel like he felt and portrayed that he was very mindful and very aware and very educated and all of these things. I
yeah,
feel like he tried to portray that, or he shared that side of himself. So to me, I just would naturally think that he would be a curious person. Like, Marissa, why did you go into the military? Why did you feel like that was the right decision? And I mean, because she even said at times that, as she's gotten older and gotten away from it, there were things that happened that she didn't necessarily agree with, but she wasn't going to um not, I don't know, like respect herself for what like for her position in the military, which I think is a very respectful thing. It's very honorable to sacrifice your time and your life for other people.
yeah, yeah. And she had come from a background where, if I remember correctly, and just tell me if I've mixed her up with someone else, but I mean, this part of the story. I think if I remember, she came from a background where like they didn't have a lot as kids. And that was an avenue for her to make a way for herself in a new way. And like all of her siblings, they've all like they did well for themselves. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
maybe, yes. I don't think she had a dad, like a father figure growing up. I think maybe you're right. I feel like that could be right.
Because
I
I
feel
feel like
like other people were in the military in her family.
yeah, and I feel like at that dinner or brunch or whatever, when her mom met him, some of that came up.
Yes.
I just feel like I know what should have held back, so I could be wrong about that. But yeah, I just think for a man to expect a woman to hold all of the responsibility, especially like, I mean, they were wanting to get married.
Yeah.
Like he should have some of that responsibility and recognize that he was so focused on his own pleasure, which great, like sex should be pleasurable. But then as a man, problem solve it. Use your masculine energy, problem solve it, figure it out. Like there's it's not either or.
Yeah. Totally.
Like go to bat for your woman. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's like go to bat for me. Make a way for me. Figure it out. Because sometimes it's really great to sit in the abyss and be in the middle and not know the answers yet. But like for something like that, you've got to have have an answer and have a plan. Even if it's okay, babe, like let's just like do an ovulation test every morning and like start tracking your cycle or whatever, right? Like something.
Yeah. I
Yes.
completely agree. I completely agree.
Yeah. Perfect.
So that's kind of an example, right? Would you say that's like a perfect example of kind of what we're going to be doing with our podcast?
Yeah.
Having juicy conversations about reality TV because we love it, but we also love to talk about um, human design and our astrology and our faith. We just love to bring that into this.
Yeah. Consciousness, embodiment, it's all so interconnected. Everything is interconnected. There's no way to separate it. And I think we will show that more and more as we get into this stuff because how, like, I don't know, in our society, I feel like people want to put everything in a vacuum, and that's just not how life works.
I completely agree. And I think it wasn't until we really started talking about human design that I was like, wow, like that is so me. That is who I am. And it's okay. Like it's totally okay to be a projector. It's fine.
It's more than fun. It's wonderful. Like you have such amazing insights. You see shortcuts. You're like, you can show the world, like, oh, this is how you could do it better. This is like an easier pathway or whatever. I mean, I've come to you before and been like, hey, do what do you think about this? Can you see this or see something I'm not seeing? Like, I think that is so important and people need that in their lives just as much as, I mean, we need all of it. We need the generators. We need the manifesting generators. We need the projectors. We need the reflectors. We need the manifestors. Like we need it all works together. And gosh, I'm grateful that you like brought this up because it's so fun and
So
it's really like the exact perfect that's a great example of how you as a projector, where I'm a manifesting generator, you are bringing my energy into your life to like energize you and help get things going. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I think this is perfect.
Yeah. Me?
Do we want to sign off? Should we have a sign off? What should our sign off be?
Good. I don't know. I always just say guy. Like, I'm so grateful for the conversation. For
God, it's so juicy.
so juicy. It was so fun. It was pleasurable. Um, yeah, we talked about, I'm sure, topics that are going to get people thinking. Um, yeah, it's been good. It's been juicy, girlfriend.
Okay, so we will be back at it. I am excited though. We do have some new seasons coming up, right? The Bachelorette should be back on Bachelor this time in January. Yeah, so we're gonna get into it.
Hot.
Yeah.
Have you seen him?
Yeah, I think he's cute. I'm really curious to see how his season will go because I feel like we got into his personality a little bit, but I'm really anxious to see who he really is.
Oh yeah, me too. And I think it'll be interesting watching it again after I just watched The Golden Bachelorette.
Okay, we should do an episode on that. Maybe that should be our next episode. Is like to recap the Golden Bachelorette.
Yeah, because those are always like so fascinating to watch the people in that age of their life and like
Yeah,
versus the younger ones. And it's just such a different vibe.
it's such a different vibe.
Yeah, and you should definitely like watch some of the housewives because
When new season? Do they have a new season coming up?
yeah, they're all pretty much new. So OC is done. They just did their reunion. Um New York has had several episodes. I think there's only been 2 episodes of Beverly Hills. And then the OC has had, or I mean the Salt Lake City, they've had several.
Okay. Okay. I'll see if I can get it and I'll check it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
it was good talking to you. Love you.
All right.
We'll talk again soon.
Bye.
Bye.